Welcome, my fellow sleuthers. I'm bringing the 22nd episode, and it's about the Levelland UFO incident. Now, this happened some time ago, I think 1957, and it lasted for, I think, 2 days. But this is a very interesting case in the UFO field, and I think I'd like to share it with you guys. So this happened in Levelland, Texas. It was November 2nd, 1957, and there were multiple witnesses. One witness called the local police and said there was this orange-shaped, egg-shaped object that was flying in the sky and ended up killing the lights in the car and the engine when it flew over this first person. So the cop thought they were lying. A second person called in saying the same thing. An egg-shaped object, orange, is flying through the sky. Once again, they're in their car, and the radio gets all staticky, and their engine shuts off. And then there's another witness that calls in, pretty much the same story, sees the same thing, the same phenomena, some electromagnetic effects on the vehicles. And at that point, the local sheriffs think something's up. They're like, okay, now this is three different people saying the same thing. This isn't a joke. So what the sheriff does, he not only goes out to look himself, but he calls the local Air Force base to come with them and go investigate. Now, this is the very interesting part of this. So the sheriff goes out, and he actually sees this object, and the same thing happens. The car engine dies. He sees this object, and, he can't explain it, but he saw the same phenomenon. So this happened over a 2 or 3 hour span in Levelland. Now, the next day, one state over, this happens at the White Sand Proving Grounds. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with that. People at the White Sands base actually saw the same thing with the same phenomenon, and that happened the next day. And what's very interesting about this is whenever the Air Force sent out their investigators to go do follow-ups on these reports, they didn't seem to care to interview the airmen that were with the sheriff. Now, that's very interesting because you would think that those people saw the same thing. They would want to get the right witness testimony, but that just wasn't the case. The police, the Air Force were involved. And again, it seems like a cover-up by the Air Force. They told the sheriff to change his story after he first came public, and it does not seem right that the Air Force comes out and says, "Oh, it's nothing. Don't worry about it. It's a weather balloon or it's Venus." But when you have all these different witnesses all saying the same thing, I think that's important in the UFO case because it's the best evidence you have. Independent sightings all saying the same thing. And I think that's very interesting in this UFO case. That is very rare to have. And I think this should be looked into more. I'll put links in the description for further investigation. There's also a book out on this subject. Also in the link, I'll put it in. But leave some comments, guys. I want to hear what you think about this, the Levelland UFO incident. As always, sleuth away. You guys are doing a good job.